Today's episode of Off the Timeline is titled Notre Dame versus the College Football Playoff 2010 to 2025. In 2018, Notre Dame goes undefeated. They don't make the college football playoff, not because they weren't good enough, not because they didn't schedule tough enough, but because the system had quietly decided something it would never say out loud. That Notre Dame was a problem, not a team one, a structural one. And once that decision was made, the college football playoff was never actually about finding the four best teams again. It was about managing Notre Dame. This what if story starts in 2010 with a coaching change that looked normal, a conference that panicked too early, and a decision Notre Dame never actually made. But by 2025, it reshaped the playoff, destabilized conferences, triggered a rivalry between the SEC and Big Ten, and made a Super League inevitable. Not because Notre Dame joined anyone, but because they didn't. And that sets the table for the decision that wasn't a decision. In this universe, Charlie Weiss gets fired in 2010. The program does not implode, it resets with intent. They hire Jim Harbaugh, not a consensus hire, not a comfort hire, a message hire. Harbaugh turns Notre Dame into something very specific. Physically exhausting, emotionally hostile, uninterested in aesthetics. This isn't a brand play, it's a posture change. And before Harbaugh coaches a single game, the Big Ten panics. They don't wait, they don't posture, they move. But Notre Dame doesn't say yes. They don't say no either. They slow walk. And that slow walk, more than any win or loss, becomes the most destabilizing move in the sport. And this also sets the table for who Notre Dame becomes on the field. Because under Harbaugh, Notre Dame doesn't dominate college football, they control it. They own USC psychologically, not just on the scoreboard. Stanford symbolically, Miami stylistically, and Michigan State through attrition. Every season, Notre Dame looks the same. 10 to 12 wins, brutal losses, no easy Saturdays. But there's a ceiling, and that ceiling's name is Ohio State. Not because Notre Dame is soft, but because Ohio State matches their physicality and outpaces them structurally. Notre Dame isn't humiliated, they're denied, and that distinction matters later. And that sets the table for the CFP being born to contain them. When the college football playoff is created in this alternate universe, it's not neutral, it's political. The four-team format quietly assumes conferences must be protected, champions must be rewarded, and independence must prove itself every single year. Notre Dame's early results prove the problem. In 2014, they go 10-2, they're ranked fifth, first team out. 2015, 11-1, they sneak in, lose to an SEC powerhouse, and the conclusion becomes clear. They belong, but only on perfect terms. In 2017, 11-1 again, ranked fifth again. By 2018, Notre Dame goes undefeated and still doesn't make it. That's the fracture. From that moment forward, the CFP isn't broken, it's exposed, and that sets the table for expansion and why expansion doesn't fix this problem, it formalizes it. Because between 2019 and 2022, playoff expansion is not driven by fairness. It's driven by fear. Fear that Notre Dame will never fit cleanly. The expanded format technically includes Notre Dame, but always with the hardest path. Lowest seeds, worst matchups, road games against SEC and Big Ten enforcers. Selection controversies stack up. Conference champs jump Notre Dame in the rankings. Resume logic shifts year to year. Committee leaks reference cleaner paths and governance clarity. By 2024, it's no longer subtle. Conference alignment is no longer an advantage, It's an expectation. And Notre Dame is being punished, not excluded, but placed. And that sets the table for the brewing SEC Big Ten rivalry. Because by the early 2020s, the SEC and Big Ten stopped pretending. The SEC controls the top end, the Big Ten controls the structure. Both understand the same truth. Notre Dame is leverage. The SEC doesn't need Notre Dame, but benefits from the chaos they create. The Big Ten doesn't rush Notre Dame because inevitability is stronger than urgency. Meanwhile, the ACC collapses quietly. Not all at once, but structurally. They bet on Notre Dame eventually joining them. They were wrong. And this sets the table for why the Super Leagues become inevitable. By 2025, everybody understands the contradiction. The playoff has expanded, the conferences are massive, governance is fragmented. Yet, Notre Dame still doesn't belong anywhere. Not because they're stubborn, but because the system was never designed to finish deciding what they are. At that point, the Super League isn't ambition, it's surrender. The middle no longer works. Notre Dame never joined a conference. They didn't have to. By refusing to resolve the question, they forced everyone else to. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, drop your take in the comments, especially where you think Notre Dame should land, and subscribe for more alternate timelines where one decision breaks the entire sport. Because sometimes the biggest move is not making one at all.